I updated the TRANSCEND-CLL-004 Phase I portion of the study with now a 24-month follow-up, so a whole year later after the last ASH presentation. We still had 23 patients who were treated and evaluable on the Phase I portion of the study. The Phase II portion is currently still enrolling and ongoing, so we'll have a lot more patients down the line. But basically, the TRANSCEND-CLL-004 is a Phase I/II study of Liso-cel, which is a CAR T cell targeting CD19 in patients with relapsed refractory CLL patients. All patients needed to have failed prior BTK inhibitor therapy, and as it happened, they had all failed prior ibrutinib. In this case, all 23 of them had prior ibrutinib. There were about 11 patients who had also failed prior venetoclax, so particularly bad-acting kind of patients. Per the protocol eligibility, they had to all have failed a total of 2 or 3 prior lines of therapy, depending on whether or not they had high-risk features of their disease. And what we found was that at the patients who received the CAR T cells, Liso-cel after the 3 days of fludarabine and cyclophosphamide lymphodepletion chemotherapy, they all tended to tolerate the infusion of Liso-cel fairly well. There were only 2 patients out of the 23 who had grade 3 cytokine release syndrome. There were a lot more with grade 1 and 2, but easily manageable. So grade 3 was also reversible and manageable. There were no patients with grade 4 cytokine release syndrome. And as far as neurotoxicity side effects of Liso-cel CAR T cells was concerned, there were 5 who had grade 3 or 4 neurotoxicity, of which only 1 was a grade 4, and these were all manageable and reversible as well. There were, of course, no grade 5 or death events from CAR T cell direct toxicity. And the most exciting part of the study thus far has been that overall response rate was about 83%, with half of them being complete remissions, and majority, the 2/3 of these responses were achieved at the first disease response assessment time point of day 30 after CAR T cells. And also a lot of these, majority of these patients were in undetectable minimal residual disease in either the blood or the marrow, or even both in a lot of cases. So very deep and rapid responses. And over the 24-month follow-up that we've had now, 7 patients have reached the 24-month mark, and they're all in deep remissions, maintaining their responses. So for people who've had a lot of prior therapy, median prior lines of therapy was 4, and a lot of people have failed venetoclax and ibrutinib, and of course everybody had prior ibrutinib as well. For particularly bad-acting CLL patients like that, to be in a remission, deep remission with undetectable minimal residual disease for this far out is actually very encouraging. The median duration of response had not been reached at this follow-up, but the median progression-free survival was 18 months. And what we've seen, and we'll show better in the larger data set after the Phase II evaluations are done, is that people who achieved undetectable MRD actually had not reached their median progression-free survival, and so tend to do a lot better if they are in that deep a remission. So we are learning that MRD in CAR T cell especially is very important over time.